Alright, I have a cutaway of a valve body here, and you can see the valve and the passageways that are inside that valve body. Typically, you'll see a spring in here, and we can do this either way. In fact, let me show you that. So I can move this valve against this spring pressure by applying pressure on the back side of the valve, and it pushes that valve to the side. So let's say maybe this passageway is meant to apply or put pressure to a clutch. Right now, with the valve in this position, it can actually go to the pan, so it's just an empty flow to the pan. But if I want to turn that clutch on, I can put pressure on the back side of that valve moves to the side, and you can see now a new passageway opens up. So the exhaust passageway is closed off, and now this new passageway is opened up, maybe applying a clutch. I can do that also with a solenoid. Over here we have a solenoid I can turn on and off. There may be fluid pressure in here. I can turn the solenoid on. That'll put pressure on the back side of the valve, and again it'll move that valve over and then open up a new passageway that I can apply that clutch with. Here's another method here. I've got actually two valves here, and let's say I turn this solenoid on and apply pressure to this valve, moving it to the side. Both valves move over. There might be some, let's say, governor pressure here, modulator pressure here. So used to be this modulator pressure was controlled by engine vacuum. We have other solenoids now that can do that for us. But let's say that I turn this solenoid off and I still have pressure in this passageway. It'll actually push this valve over, and this valve will stay in the same spot because it's got pressure on it going this way. Now, the governor pressure would be the speed of the vehicle, so as the speed of the vehicle increases, let's say this pressure begins to increase, overcoming this pressure inside here, and then actually pushing the valve to the side and making a change in a passageway that maybe applies the next gear. So we can do it with spring pressure, or actually fluid pressure against spring pressure, or we can do it with fluid pressure and either modulated or governed pressure to change valve position. So obviously if you have a large valve body with a bunch of valves in it and you want to check and see if everything is functioning properly, you can move these valves side to side and make sure that they are free as they move, because if one of these would stick, even if you turn this on and off, there would be no change in the position here. So that might leave that gear applied, it might open a passageway and allow it to slip, all kinds of things. So one of those things with the hydromatic charts, the blue books, is that they identify each one of these passageways on those charts. That's why there's a big foldout with a lot of pictures on it. But there's a lot of passageways here, and I can look at each one of those passageways, identify the valves, and make sure that valve freely moves back and forth. So sometimes you can get into the top of it with maybe a pocket screwdriver to move that back and forth. Sometimes you'll just have to pull the valve out and look on the bottom side and see if it's moving back and forth as you look at it through the channel plate or the passageways.